Welcome to the Amatoria podcast with Marvin Allen and Justin Dong. Join us for a journey through the art of love across the world, guided by timeless wisdom and lived experience.
Is the life living you, or are you living your life? That's the important question that you have to ask yourself.
There's that glint in your eye when you look at a woman and wow, it's almost a conversation without speaking. It's like, I've traveled the world, girl. I've known incredible women. And who are you? What could you possibly show me? And that is escape from the ordinary nights and days that women have and the ordinary men that they meet on dating apps.
How do you travel so much, Alejandro? How do you have all these women? How do you do this and this and this? And Alejandro's like, yeah, it's intentional choices
you make of putting yourself in an environment where there is women in any city in the world, Pilates, these sorts of things filled with beautiful women that are more than ready to mingle.
He told him, yeah, you can travel with less money. You can have this life. And then the married guy said to him, no, man, you don't know. You don't understand how it is. I have the wife and you don't get it. You don't get it. And Alejandro was like, I get it. I know exactly what it is like. That's why I made a different choice in life, to represent your full desire and to show up fully as who you are as a man in any place that you are.
Welcome back to the Amatoria podcast. I'm your host, Justin Dong, with Marvin Allen, my co-host. How are you, man? Where in the world are you, man?
As always, good. I'm back in Germany. It's been quite a shock coming back. I'm from Brazil, but I've adjusted as much as possible.
Crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
How is the environment affecting your behavior? Because we know environment is super important in terms of dating.
Yeah, it's so different. I mean, here I'm more like in a cave. I don't think I've left the house in like a week or so. And in Brazil, I was out every day. So it's a drastic
Yeah.
difference. And my life is completely different here, which is not bad for a while, but I feel like if you stay too long in the wrong kind of environment, it will shape you back into someone who you don't want to be, probably. So I'm looking to make my next move, which hopefully will be Bucharest soon.
It's in around 2 weeks' time, I imagine. Or when do you have plans? Well, here's something funny to the listeners. When we travel, we don't book things in advance, like ever, because every time you do it, something goes wrong, or the best days are in the last couple days in the new place. And so we just kind of live in the wind and go full force and go with the flow.
Sure.
And there's an interesting balance, I guess, Marvin. Like, what is that balance of controlling your life, organizing, designing your life, but also relaxing into life and letting the chaos and the great experiences that you cannot predict when or how they're going to happen? What's that balance of order and chaos? This is a reflection episode on Alejandro. But I think this is a good place to start off. What do you think, Marvin? Like in your experience with your dating odyssey over the last, 18 months, like how has that balance been? It's a journey from order to chaos. Your structured, safe, comfortable life in Germany, right? And going into the unknown, thrusting into the world. Like how did that, it's an ever evolving thing. And sometimes chaos is worth more and sometimes order is worth more. But to you, how did that look like on your evolution into your dating hero's journey? Going on your odyssey?
Actually, exactly as you said. It's been spot on. It's been from a very orderly life, to chaos, to not knowing, like, sometimes where I was gonna sleep the next night and where I was gonna be the next week, the next month. And there's something about that kind of molds your spirit as well. Like this sense of adventure of, hey, I don't know where I'm going to be next month. I don't know where I'm going to be next week or tonight even. But you trust enough in yourself, in life, in the universe, whatever you want to call it, in the journey, that you know you're going to be okay either way. And that's a very powerful experience you can have. I think we talked about this, and you told some stories about this too, in the last episodes, where you just step out into something unknown and you trust, and then you have this experience of someone being there to catch you, to guide you in a certain direction. I'm sure you had that when you came first to Bucharest. You left your home, you left your life behind in the U.S., and it's a very powerful experience that shapes the way you think about your life and about the world, and allows you to embrace more uncertainty, I think, in life, which is a positive thing because life is fundamentally completely uncertain.
Well, if certainty was all that mattered, you would never change, right? If what you were doing already was already working, then you wouldn't have to do anything different. So, of course, embracing uncertainty and doing something different from the regular, mundane, everyday life is obviously the first step to making a real change. There's a idea of, so because this is a reflection on Alejandro, I think the main takeaways, and I like the years after that I had, were circumstance. You know, like Alejandro was talking about how him and his friends that he grew up with together, they all say make approximately the same amount of money. They just decided to make different things God in their life. They decided to prioritize different things. And so his friends say, Alejandro, you have so much, you know, that lets you travel and I can't do that. And he's like, telling some stories. He's like, well, no, I actually make less money than you. And and I still live this way. So you, besides everything mental, could definitely live this way. You just, whether it's people, parents telling you that you must get married, you must white picket fence, you must do this. And Alejandro was talking about mindful choices, you know, and this one part stood out the most to me, which was, if you really want to have a family and kids, that's a beautiful thing if it's fully chosen, right? Just like if you really want to date extraordinary women around the world until you've had your fill and decide to pick one, if it's honestly chosen, that's a great decision. But most men just, you know, oh, parents, friends, society says I should get married. Okay, I'll go do that. And then they wonder their whole lives what kind of beautiful women would have liked them if they had just put themselves out there into the world. So this idea of mindful choice. And also, Alejandro's a funny guy. He lives in San Diego, Seattle, around these areas, and there's tons of beautiful young college girls in these areas. I have a quick story from Medellin. In Medellin, after some incidents that we shall not speak about, which you know, Marvin, the idea was they decided between like this nice Airbnb in a bad location or this very, very cheap college apartment on a college campus where there's tons of 20-year-old girls. You know, even an easy choice, you know, and they were selling empanadas in the street. At nighttime, everyone would come out and gather and socialize and flirt, whether they go to bars and clubs after or they go to, you know, apartments after. So the idea was logistics and circumstance are completely your choice, and to put yourself into environments where you can meet high quality, incredible, extraordinary, magnificent women. What's your experience with that, Marvin? And Brazil is at a macro level, but at a micro level, that just at a daily level, you can still do these things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny because I thought about this exactly today. Like just putting yourself in an environment where there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of women around is something that's completely in your control, and it's such an easy step to do. And I was thinking about this in Brazil, it's so easy, man, because you just literally have to leave your fucking house. Like you just gotta open the damn door, step outside onto the Copacabana beach, and there's thousands of beautiful women walking around in bikinis, going into the ocean, you know, ready to flirt, to do whatever. And you just have to go. You just have to go and immerse yourself in that environment. As you said, you know, you pick the college campus, you pick an apartment that's close to Copacabana, close to Ipanema, so you can just go outside and you're right among all the most beautiful women in Rio. And that's such a simple and powerful thing that you can do, like Alejandro shared. Like it's about sometimes about very simple choices that you make in life that can make an enormous difference. Like he compared his life to, as you said, as to one of his friends who's married, he has a family, he has kids, and he always asks them about his lifestyle. Right? How do you travel so much, Alejandro? How do you have all these women? How do you do this and this and this? And Alejandro's like, yeah, you know, it's intentional choices. And I think one thing he said was like he told him, yeah, you know, you can travel with less money. You can have this life. And then the married guy said to him, no, man, you don't know, you don't understand how it is. I have the wife, and you don't get it, you don't get it. And Alejandro was like, I get it. I know exactly what it is like. That's why I made a different choice in life, and that's such a key insight. As you said, like is the life living you, or are you living your life? That's that's the important question that you have to ask yourself. And yeah, so yeah, powerful stuff.
Is it even your life that you're living? We always talk about this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
some guy listening to our podcast might be thinking, well, okay, Brazil and Colombia, that's easy mode. If you can't say you go to Thailand and you get girls and that really counts, and I agree. Completely understand, completely with you.
yeah.
And the same applies in Romania. The same applies in Russia. The same applies in Ukraine. Although you and I have yet to go to those places for obvious reasons. But if you want to, some guys, I saw this reel recently and it was like, a real woman, the pinnacle of beauty is a Russian Barbie. You can make that case. You can argue that. You can also say a perfectly toned Brazilian woman that's very intelligent is the pinnacle of beauty. You can also make that argument. It's less about your geographic external location than about the spirit of freedom that you embody and the logistical choice that you make of putting yourself in an environment where there is women. In any city in the world, you have gym classes of yoga, Pilates, these sorts of things filled with beautiful women that are more than ready to mingle. And if you go and people talk about ratio, well, obviously you want there to be more. I think of like a fraternity party, like a frat party. There's way more girls than guys there. So naturally, good things happen. You can talk about Dan Bilzerian's setup approach. Whatever the logic beneath that is all the same, that you, one, have to set things up so that something good can happen. Whether that is you going to hot yoga with 30 hot moms, whether that is you going out into the beach in Ipanema on the weekend, or, after everyone is done working and living ordinary, boring, grayscale life. You have to go put yourself out there in these situations. And so one, that could mean putting yourself into countries with women that you like, that at a macro level. At a micro level, we even talked about this last time. If you're sitting at home expecting beautiful, inspiring women to come to your place, unless you're a rock star, unless you're a writer, unless you've gone through that, it's not going to happen. And of course, if we can talk about dating apps, and Marvin, you do quite well on the apps. We've traveled together and I've seen, but I'm curious, what is that? What's the difference in your experience, between girls that you've met on the apps and girls that you've met in real life? And there's obviously day game and night game and these sorts of things. And, which is my preference. I like being out at night. It's sexy. It's electric. Something good's going to happen tonight, But for you, like, what is online, like that kind of experience internationally and when you were in Germany? I would love to know.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I actually, this trip I did, I specifically didn't do any online dating because I didn't want to, like, let's say, rely on it in a way. And it is a way different experience, and I feel like also it's a different energy you're cultivating, or a different, if you want, a different skill, or a different, because you just become a good dater in a way. If you do a lot of online apps, mostly you become a good dater because you tend to go on a lot of dates, if you yeah, if you want to meet women online. The thing is, I also felt like I wasn't growing in a way by using these apps. I wasn't really living my full potential of having to show up as a man every day, every night. And when you go to a bar, there's something about just putting yourself out there in these kinds of weird places, kind of weird places, that teaches you how to represent yourself, and represent who you are to anyone who may be there. And that kind of skill, learning to cultivate that energy and being able to represent your full desire and to show up fully as who you are as a man in any place that you are, whether it's a bar, whether it's the beach, whether it's a club, whether it's Brazil, Germany, Bucharest, or freaking America. So it's a really valuable skill to have. And the experience, so for some reason in my mind, a woman that I meet in a bar or on the street, wherever it may be, on the beach, and if I get to interact with her later on, it's in my mind it's more valuable than a girl I met through an app, which is a weird kind of thing, but it's probably because I put in more effort in a way, right? And then so we value things more that we put in more effort in. But so I've always found that to be the case, and it's difficult to describe, but it generally feels better and more organic to me if I just meet a girl outside in real life and than online. What's been your experience?
Well, 1 second, because I'm pulling up a quote from the Alabaster Girl on this very
Oh, great.
subject. If you want to keep expanding, because this is you're
Yeah,
saying it
fantastic.
beautifully.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it's I think yeah, Zan mentioned it in his book as well. And there's of course it's very tempting nowadays to go into the online dating world and do the app game. But honestly, if the question I think is if you are personally growing and expanding who you are through that process, because in the end, it's all about your journey. It's about who you are as a man, how you show up in the world, and if you feel fulfilled and you feel like you're still growing through apps, then that's completely fine. But I would encourage everyone to try at least a couple other different things, besides apps. Actually go outside and talk to some girls.
Yeah, so I found the quote, and this ties in exactly with what you're saying. This is how most men live their lives, my love. It is safer to stand aside and wish. A never ending stream of beautiful, laughing, vibrant women flows by and never really ends. And the men stand off to the side, watching and wishing, letting what could possibly be the most fulfilling romantic encounter they have ever experienced quietly pass them by. And yet, a wave, a nod, a hello, a smile are all that's ever been needed to kindle a fire that lasts a lifetime. And so we think of the various ways that we can meet women. And that is in the bar, night game, day game, in the street, in malls, in school, in campuses, in restaurants, in coffee shops, and online dating, right? But instead of focusing exclusively, there's a level beneath all of that, which is just, this is an extreme example. But what if you and I shaved our heads, wore homeless clothing, smelled really bad? Do you think we could show up? This is an extreme example, of course, thought experiment. Do you think you could show up and represent yourself fully in that scenario? I argue that we can, because it's not about anything that we look like or wear, or because it's that sense of gravity and that mystique, as we say in the Amorati, that you've cultivated as a man. There's that glint in your eye when you look at a woman, and wow, it's almost a conversation without speaking. It's like, I've traveled the world, girl. I've known incredible women. And who are you? What could you possibly show me? And it's like, the idea is called a soul tattoo, because it's just something in the twinkle in your eye, something in that scoundrel wandering, freedom, chaos, that an escape from the ordinary nights and days that women have, and the ordinary men that they meet on dating apps, paying hundreds of dollars for their dates that don't turn them on. So there's that sense of knowing that you have what it takes. Take away the millionaire's money. Take away the external things from any man, and can he show up as himself and know that girls like him, not because of his money, but because of who he is. And that sounds so simple, but it's not. And I wonder how many guys listening to us are so used to putting money as the first thing that they offer to get girls. Money, and they say, I was writing a bit yesterday, and I came across this concept. It's like the ocean does not apologize for how deep it is. The mountain does not need to boast for how tall it is. True power is quiet behind the scenes, beneath the scenes, and women can see immediately. What are your thoughts? That was a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's easy not to rely on money if you're broke like us. So, uh, but it's completely right. I mean, there's something about having seen a lot of things And you can see it, I think you can see it in a, Jordan said this thing about, I think by 50 or by 60, every man gets the face he deserves, right? You can see in a man's face after a certain amount of time the experiences that he accumulated and the memories that he made over his lifetime. And as you said, in the twinkle in his eye, there's something that tells a woman, "Hey, this guy has he's seen some shit. He's been through some stuff." And I can see that there's like a depth to the way he looks at me that I don't see in other men. It's a very mysterious quality, as you said. It's very hard to describe what this mysterious thing is that you bring back from having lived adventures in foreign countries or even in your own country. But there's for sure something. I mean, this it's a mystery. We can talk about endlessly. There's some quality. The maybe it's the elixir you bring back as the hero coming back from the journey. Maybe it's something else, but it stays with you all your life, I think.
Yeah, I was. Well, your share made me think a lot, and wow, I just had it. The idea is, let me start a different one.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
so
lost
many
it,
ways.
man. Yeah.
It happens, brother. You're living in the moment. There's so much that can be said about that because it's and I think that's also one of the main points of making the choices that lead to making the best memories possible. That's the truth to that because once you make that kind of choice, you choose to become basically the most interesting man that you can become, the most interesting version of yourself. And that is reflected in every interaction you have, right? With every woman, with every man, with every person you meet. They can see there's something about you that's different, and that you've seen some stuff in the world, and that makes you
That's
fundamentally
it.
interesting.
Thank you, Marvin. You just reminded me. And that is when you meet a supermodel, a runway model, a singer, an actress, a famous girl. Oh, she's out of my league. She would never want me. If your life experience has been traveling the world, dating the most beautiful women across all cultures, becoming worldly, not in an exploitative passport bro, go here because it's easier without actually making yourself better kind of a way. Like you've really learned from the world. You see this girl and you think, I've known tons of beautiful girls just like you. What do you have besides that? And it's a challenge to her, which women love, of course. But it's also like, okay, besides your beauty, like, what do you have? And you'll find this is funny because a lot of women have nothing to offer more than their fake lips, their plastic boobs, their Brazilian butt lift. But there's also a lot of women that might not be on the surface the most attractive, but they will haunt your memory and your imagination for years after you've met. Well, obviously, this is an abstract concept, but I'm sure every guy listening to this has that one girl who he thinks about from time to time. He almost had her. He was too afraid to talk to her. And there's these. You think you can get the sense, and here's the thought I had when you were speaking, Marvin, and I was listening, is you think you can learn that beautiful, mysterious spirit in a 10-page PDF generated with AI as a lead magnet on Instagram Reel? As opposed to that, how about you go and put yourself into a foreign country, see if you have what it takes, and know that if you do not die, you will be okay and you will have gone through the darkness, you will have stepped into the unknown and came back absolutely transformed. And you think that wouldn't make you attractive to women?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. I mean, I was going to tie it back to Alejandro just in the way that it's been inspiring talking to him because he has been there from the beginning of it all. He was there he was there 30, 40 years ago when he first started. Well, not that long, but still quite a while back.
20, maybe 20.
Seen, yeah, maybe 20. Yeah, making him older than he is. But he's seen the whole progression of things happen. He's seen Zan 20 years ago. He's seen all the other guys, and he's been so inspiring to hear his journey. And he's still at it. He's still like, as you said, we were in Bucharest with him, and who was out every freaking night, with us was Alejandro. He was there. There he was. There he is.
He looks and acts half his age, and this is not about maturity. He's fresh and alive. If you want to talk about someone that's been around for 40 years, Zan Perion was around before this dating, YouTube, advice, seduction, pickup, anything community was around.
Yeah, what a time, man. What a time.
God, how the times have changed.
Yeah, and now we're kind of stepping into something else, something new that's shaping around us as we grow into this. And yeah, it's exciting. Very exciting.
There's something very interesting about
part of it. Yeah.
Look at modern social media, Marvin. What are the kind of men that other men idolize these days? You get like red pill, Lamborghini, champagne, lifestyle, which doesn't make you good with women when you're on the way up, so to speak. And then you also get these they're sincere guys, and there's no reason to shit on people that are trying their best. And they are getting, hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of views for doing what we would call back in the day, very, very basic cold approach, so to speak. They just doing, excuse me, where are you? Or, excuse me, where are you from? Oh, I just had a crush on you for the last 5 seconds. Ha ha ha. And you know what? But you know what though? One, that's better than doing nothing. Sitting in mother's basement, smoking weed all day in your home, jerking off and watching Netflix. But if only they knew, if only all these sincere guys that want to learn knew what is actually possible with a woman, if she knows no one's going to find out, she'd be completely safe and completely comfortable. I quote Zan, you would be shocked what women would do. And it's not something you're going to capture by recording on Ray-Ban Meta glasses and not telling the girl that you're recording. And there's so many reels where the guys have posted, the girl's like, okay, that's really fucking weird and creepy that you recorded without telling me. They find the, reel of them getting approached. It's like, there's a better way, I remember the last episode we were talking about guys saying, hey, thanks for lending me that $2,000, $10,000, $5,000, man. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. I think this ties back into the conversation of what that really is a confession that you don't think you're good enough to get a girl as you are, because you are more than good enough without all these external tactics and techniques and manipulations. Even though those things can help, right? Like, because we're not saying that anything is inherently bad. As long as you try and you're sincere, that's great. But like, you could even argue, putting yourself where there's girls is manipulation. Well, yeah, it's only a choice that you make to maximize the chances of something good to happen that both you and her want. Johnny Saporno says, sex is the one thing that everyone wants more of and no one gets enough of. And it's simple, but it's not easy. And here's the thing, I think, that no one tells anyone, no one tells you that's listening, is that it's a lifelong, multi-year at least journey. And the deeper you go into the land of women, as you've done, Marvin, as our mentors and inspirations and friends and people that are also walking the path on their unique journeys alongside us, the longer you stay. This is my old metaphor that I thought of a long time ago. And it is, women is like the best video game ever, because most men will never beat the video game. And this would help me quit my video game addiction when I was younger as well. It's the reward as you go is exponential, and it's going to suck for the first few years. But if you stay on the path and you keep learning, you will date more and more beautiful and more inspiring, more life affirming. Like, wow, there's a woman like that. This life wasn't so bad. I met a cool girl like that, and maybe you've dated 1,000 girls before you got to that point to get the eyes of someone that that can really choose. How many men end up with someone that they don't want for lack of a better option? That's a controversial statement. But the longer you stay in the land of women as a lover of women, which I think, and this will be the premise of my next book, this true lover spirit that transcends pickup, red pill, passport bros, because that is that universal factor that women have adored through all of history and all of time. And I think that is what's coming to replace the game, coming to replace seduction. It's the return of men reclaiming their confident, sexy lover spirit. And if we can lead that charge, that'd be great. But this is not new to us. This is nothing new under the sun. We're maybe just the people channeling this great thing at this time, because women will always have a need for male lovers in their life. And that does not necessarily mean husbands.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading, funny enough, I was reading a book the last week called The World of Yesterday. It's just a fantastic book about life in Vienna basically in the 19th century. And he talks a lot about the society was so kind of stuck up, very morally virtuous, kind of the Victorian age, the remains of the Victorian age. But he says that this kind of superficial restraint actually sexualized the whole society even more, because it became even more attractive to have like this lover on the side, to have the women were so curious about sexuality because it was so restrained superficially. So it's very interesting how that works. So you can't repress it.
Yeah, I think of even a parallel to that, which is the American Revolution happens off of a 1% tax. As soon as you ban something, people want it more, right? And to apply that to the dating situation, it's people have been horny for all of history, and
it doesn't change.
That's it. And most people never has as much sex as they want to in their whole lives, and so it manifests in paying for escorts and prostitutes and things like that, because they can't do it by being themselves, and it can be learned. The art of love is a skill that can be learned. That's really interesting, Marvin. That's an interesting book. Maybe it reminds me of this book, Lady Chatterley's Lover. I have it and I haven't read it, but I understand that the premise is it's a big scandal for a woman to have a lover on the side, but there's a part in her heart that craves that feeling alive, what you would maybe liken to the start of a relationship before it devolves into routine. And, I have to work and watch football with my buddies first, There's something in the heart of a woman that is, I'm going to find the quote from the Alabaster Girl. But I really like what you shared there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a great read, and I recommend it to anyone. Also just knowing, reading Castanova, reading Cellini, like all these stories, just to get a sense of what life was like in a different decade, in a different century, and get some perspective on the world and on relationships, how they how they used to work, on how people used to have affairs and stuff. And as you said, it's nothing new. No, it's nothing new. It's been there for all of history, all of time. Every culture's had it because, it's a biological need we have at the end of the day, and the societies try to repackage it in different ways to make it more tasteful or make it more branded, in a different way. But it doesn't change the base fact of it that we're all sexual beings.
Yeah, so you go from the 60s to the 70s, this kind of cycles of history. I found the quote from the Alabaster Girl. It's on page 37. Women everywhere are asking, where are the real men? And the men are over here in the corner with their beige careers, their beige relationships, and their beige attempts at lovemaking, saying, oh, well, it's good enough. This is how we live our lives, somnambulating, devoid of any real passion, any real seduction, any real romance, any real love. Next paragraph. Women are complicit in their own seduction. They don't need convincing. There is a yearning in the heart of women that is rarely addressed. They want to be seduced, and seduced well, to be caught up in a whirlwind, a romance, an intrigue. There's a whole section on that in the book, but I think that kind of paints a picture of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Marvin, what was your experience with the Alabaster Girl? Because when I read it, it changed my life. It was like, wow, this is a possible way.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always dreamed of dating, different women, all shapes and sizes, colors, across the world, extraordinary women. But this Alabaster Girl was like permission, it was like, it's possible. Men have done it for all of history. You don't have to go this soul-killing beige career, beige lovemaking, achievement-oriented lifestyle. You can actually choose to walk the path of a lover that is adored by women wherever you go. So what has your experience been with the book and the path?
Man, that's a fantastic quote from the book. I'm just gonna say, my battery is very low because I moved location, so I hope it doesn't die on me. But I was reading the book, and what really changed the way I actually saw the book as well was when I listened to the In Search of the Alabaster Girl, the YouTube series that Zen and Jordan and two other guys did. And that really, there was something about the way also Zen, yeah, there it is, a great book by the master. There was also something about the way Zen explained it and the way the intonation of his voice, everything about that really intrigued me even more. And then I went actually back to the book after that and reread it with a completely new and fresh perspective. And that's and that's what that was when I decided to just book my flight to Bucharest and just go and find this guy who wrote this book and like trying to I don't know, trying to meet him and like say hi or something. I don't even know. I didn't have a plan, but I was trying to put myself in the location where he was, and so something was bound to happen. But yeah, so it called me forth in a way that I had to do something about it. It spoke to my heart in a way that caused me to yearn for something more, and I took action and went out into the world to find it.
Yeah, so Marvin, your battery's going to die soon. So I think we can kind of wrap up this brief recap. But in every episode, I think we can do this. At the end of the episode, we can leave a practical way to get started immediately today on you, the listener's journey. And one, we'd highly recommend, like you just said, Marvin, get the book, The Alabaster Girl. You can buy it on Amazon. It's like less than $20. Or you can get a signed copy from Zan for $15. And then we always say The Alabaster Girl is like the Bible of women. It has more than you need to know about women compared to what society or school or conventional an upbringing might teach you about women. From a man, arguably, in my opinion, the greatest lover of women that exists in our time. And then there's that series, which we'll link in the description, In Search of the Alabaster Girl. It's 50 episodes. Zan recorded it over 10 years ago with head coach now, Jordan, at the Ars Morada, and two other Amorati at the time. And it's 50 episodes. And I think this book is so interesting because, at least speaking for myself, and maybe this is the case for you, Marvin, you can always go back to this book after you've traveled another country and dated another exquisite woman. If you think of it like connoisseurs of women. And then you read the book and it's a level deeper. You listen to In Search of the Alabaster Girl, it's a level deeper because it's too much to digest all at the same time. But if you can match the theory and the metaphors and the storytelling to your own life experience, if you can demonstrate what's talked about in the book to your experience, you can read it again and see deeper. There is infinite depth in this book. So obviously we'll leave a link to get the book, the signed one from Zan, as well as to the In Search of the Alabaster Girl series for free on YouTube. And if that really changes something in your mind, if it gives you permission like it did for me, for you, Marvin, for many of the Amorati, join us in the Amorati Brotherhood, where this conversation happens daily. And you will never have to worry.
Put yourself in a place where there's women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go outside.
Or like surround yourself with men that actually like women.
That's a good start too.
Yeah. So I think we can leave that for a future day. We obviously let us know what you're struggling with. A guy in the Brotherhood recently asked the question, I'm with this guy, we love to go out together, and he always gets jealous when a girl likes me and doesn't like him. When a girl likes him, I'm happy for him. I wonder how many guys listening to this have that problem. And that sucks. Yeah. Because it's, so I think, but maybe that's a future discussion. The idea that finding people that would be happy for you to succeed.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts for you, Marvin, as we approach the Amorati conference in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. It's gonna be great to be back in Bucharest and breathe in the air of the city of Eastern Europe.
Excited for you.
Very exciting.
Save some girls for the rest of us.
Do my best. Yes.
Yeah. So perfect. In the meantime, this should go live Wednesday, and we have a very interesting guest coming up this Sunday. We're trying to get a panel of different guests within the Brotherhood so you guys get a different perspective. We all love women, but the story is all different. The background's all different. The myth is completely different. And so we're really enjoying doing this and always look forward to hear your feedback to make this the best we can for you guys. So until then, this has been the Amatoria podcast with Justin and Marvin. And everyone be safe. Life is short. May you have plenty this week. Tons of beautiful, horny women out there. And we will see everyone on Sunday. Take care, everyone.
See you soon, brother.
Bye.